welcome back to Switch to Linux, another edition of Outdoor Philosophy. We're going to finish up the book, First Things First. It has been a very exciting journey as we have flipped through the pages of First Things First, which is a brief summary, is essentially like a new take on time management. Rather than just doing lists or prioritizing certain things, it really takes a holistic approach to things. And so the final chapter is on the peace of the results. And the peace of the results is about taking just the final summary of the life lived under these principles. And that's kind of what is going on as far as they're doing. So they talk about what is peace, and stop and just think back to what would peace be like in your life. Is what would happen in your life if there's, you're not billions in the bank, but money in the bank to cover basic emergency fund, 3 to 6 months, as Dave Ramsey would teach. Imagine if you have 3 to 6 months of expenses, and you can probably cash flow any emergency that shows up. You have some control in your life. You're responding to things, not reacting to things, and that makes a huge difference as you live your life. Some people might look for recognition and fame. Some people might think that that's a little bit more important. Some people talk about new houses, cars, material possessions, superior social status. The reality is, though, all those things, even the money in the bank, isn't nearly as important. I'll grant you, of everything I just mentioned on the list, though, money in the bank is certainly, it's like, again, we're not talking millions. We're just talking about enough to cover your basics. And what they talk about, though, as what really is peace is the over-encompassing factor of this fourth generation of time management. They talk about peace in our ability to live and to love and to leave a legacy. In fact, that is even a quote that I'm pretty sure Dave Ramsey has used, which would make sense. I imagine this is a book he's read. But the ability to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy with balance and joy. So you don't want to be somebody so harried running this direction or so running that direction. In fact, this morning I was reading an article on Tesla just fired several hundred employees, for not performing well under their performance reviews, and basically saying they're looking for people just like their CEO who's driven, works 12-hour and 16-hour days. When that's your life, you're out of balance. And I don't care what you think of Tesla or Elon Musk, the man seems to be out of balance. For whatever purpose, and yeah, I could say some other things on that to possibly counter some criticism, but never mind. We're not going to go there. I'll bring it up in the comments if it comes up. They talk about peace in the development of the human endowment. So remember those human endowments we talked about. We're talking about peace and developing those. Peace in our roles as we cooperate rather than compete with one another. Cooperation is generally better than competition, and that's something to keep in mind because it starts to produce a synergy in our life as we live out. And of course, we have the transcendent peace of learning to listen and to live by the conscience. And when you can go to sleep at night and lay your head down on the pillow and your conscience isn't yelling at you, that really is peace. That really, really is peace, and that's something that you wanna keep in mind. And so we actually talked in the book here about just some of the things about peace. What are the things that nourish peace? And they talk about two major contributions to it. And that is your contribution and your conscience. And if there's any two areas you want to focus on in this area of peace, those are those areas you might want to focus on. Your contribution and your conscience. So the contribution is you get to the end of your life, you look back over your life, and have you left something for the world? If you look back over your life and your entire life has been watching television and reading the newspapers, just basically being a consumer with leaving no impact on the world, maybe you've left children that are drug addicts or whatever else, that's just, you look back at your life and you go, is there more than this? And that's where we talk about contribution. Now, of course, in the Christian life, it's more important to look at the contribution in terms of, as the Bible would say, the Bible would talk about storing up your treasure in heaven, where where the thieves don't break in and steal, and the moth does not get in and eat, and the rust does not destroy. But when we're talking about being on this world, even as a Christian, we should also have a call to make a very positive impact on the world and what we're doing. Are you leaving things? Are you leaving a liturgy of books behind? Are you leaving a business that's way better off because you were part of it? Are you leaving people behind who look to their life and go, this person caused a tremendous amount of possibility in me? And that's that contribution. So, it could be the relationships you had. It could be the books you've written. Could be the businesses you've helped to grow. But have you left a contribution, or did you just go, show up, do your 9 to 5, go home and do television for the rest of your life? And then, of course, they talk about conscience. And conscience is that thing that we really need more of this in America and around the world for sure. But the conscience talks about, are you doing things that your inner voice says is good to do? And, of course, in the Christian vernacular, the conscience is that thing that we might even say that it is amplified by the Holy Spirit, where we talk about this being the thing that directs and teaches us. For those that aren't into that specific philosophy, the conscience is just that, it's that inner voice that just tells you what is right and wrong, that gut feeling, that intuition about what is right and what is wrong. When you go against that, you have a hard time sleeping at night. But when you follow that and your conscience says, be good to people because that's how I want people to be to me, and then you live your life by that, you go to sleep at night and you go, I lived a good life today because I did things that were consistent with my conscience. So leaving a contribution and obeying your conscience are two very fabulous things to overcome or to leave behind that good peace, to have that peace in your life. Now we talk about 2 stumbling blocks to your peace in your life. Discouragement. Of course, they break it down as discouragement, removing of courage in your life. So discouragement, this kind of happens when you're completely run down, when your bank account's at zero, an emergency's showing up. You get all these types of things when relationships are going bad, when things are just not going well in your life in general, you start to get discouraged. And this is why it's always good to take those times to go back and to reflect, because life's not always going to be good. And that's a reality we all have to deal with. There's times that our life is just not going to be good, and we have to recognize that. And of course, there's pride. When you live your life in pride, then you get to the point where you never really have peace. You're too busy justifying your own actions. And that's something that, I'm a pretty smart cookie, and that's something that I've had to fight with a lot in my life is pride. I can say that's one of my primary sins, but, for whatever. I'm aware of the issue, which is good, but that is one of the major stumbling blocks to that. I don't get discouraged much, but, I can fall into the other area. And then they end the chapter just talking about the characteristics of principle-centered people. And I'm just going to read several of these off the list. Number 1, the more flexible and spontaneous of a person. A person who's too rigid and tight never really has peace in their life. Of course, there's that fabulous quote. It says, "Blessed are the flexible, for they never get bent out of shape." So learning to have that flexibility in your life. Richer and more rewarding relationships than other people. When we focus our life on the stuff, we have a miserable life because the desire to get stuff is never full. But when we seek out good relationships, it's our relationships that give us good life. And that's something we need to keep in mind. Let's see, more synergistic. So the ability to work with other people and to help carry the results. Of course, the classic story is you take 2 horses that have never been pulled together. Each one can pull 800 pounds. Put them together, even though they've never worked together, they can pull 2,400. More than twice what each individual horse could do. And that's the power of synergy. Continually learning. This is important because you never want to stop learning in life. The day you stop learning is when your brain starts to atrophy, turn into mush, and then you just sit there and watch television. Okay? You want to constantly be learning. Learning is a fabulous thing that helps build up your heart and build up your mind and build up your ability to work on things. You want to be contribution focused. This is a person who has no problem giving, whether it's giving time, whether it's giving money, whether it's giving advice. Mentoring is a contribution. All of these things are very good levels of contribution, having this contribution focus. Producing extraordinary results. We're going to pass over that one for now, just because I consider that more of a consequence rather than a character trait. Develop healthy psychological immune system. So in this case, what they're meaning is a healthy psychological immune system means that you have what you might call in business world thick skin. Somebody can throw an insult at you and you're like, whatever, clean that off, but you're not going to take things personally. That's what they're talking about. Creating their own limits, setting boundaries in your life, and what you can do, what you can't do, what you need help to do. That is important to do. Leading more balanced lives. Do you have the ability? As busy as I am, don't look for me on days that I've decided not to work. You're not going to find me. And if you attempt to call me on the phone, you're probably going to get my answering machine, because just because the phone rings doesn't mean I have to pick it up. But that's part of a balanced life. Learning when you pick up the phone, when you don't. When you're there with your kids, you got to leave your work at the office. Don't be sitting there going, okay, kids, we're going to hang out, and sit there staring at your work email the whole time. Okay, that's not consistent. That's not spending time with your kids. That is completely ineffective everywhere, because your kids know you're not spending any time with them, and the business is getting distracted by the kids. Separate things out. Learn to live that balanced life. Better able to walk their talk. This is a neat one, because this is the thing I'd commented, I think, on some of the recent videos I did. I was watching several videos from Chris Pirillo and Barnacules, and Barnacules will spend all this time talking about how bad the Windows tracking is, and he's still using Windows. And then Chris spent an entire month talking about how bad every bit of the new Apple lineup is bad. And he's still on Apple. If it's that bad, leave. Walk. There's other systems. There's other platforms. And better able to walk your talk means that like when I talk about the privacy stuff, guys, I don't have credit or debit cards on Amazon. When I want to buy something on Amazon now, I go down to the store, I put money on a gift card, and then I go back to my house and I ship it to a pickup location downtown. Is that a little inconvenient? Yes, but I'm not willing to trade my privacy and my security for convenience. I actually do those things. Okay, while I still have a Windows 7 computer in my office, I will not be doing any solid work on Windows 10. Do I have a Windows 10 computer? I do. It has nothing on it. It's simply used when I have a client that says, hey, I'm having a problem. What's your operating system? Windows 10. Give me a minute. Let me boot up a Windows 10 computer. And then I can walk them through setting up emails. I know how the thing works. And that's part of that thing. So, as far as using Google accounts or syncing accounts, I don't do any cloud services to sync any data, whether it's an iPhone or whether it's an Android phone. I don't do any of that. I do everything manually. Is it inconvenient? Yes, it is. But I'm willing to take the inconvenience as a trade-off for the things I don't want, because I am not willing to say, I disagree with the company, but you just steamroll over me because convenience. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to walk the talk I talk on this channel. And I do that to the best of my ability. Let's see. Let's go ahead and get into the letting goes. So the letting goes are the things that, as we examine our life, we start looking at this stuff. Not only are you going to look at things in your life, you're going to go, okay, I need to start doing X, Y, or Z. You might need to look down and start going, maybe I need to stop doing A, B, and C. Okay? And so there's some concept of letting go. And letting go means that there's things that we identify in our life that we need to evaluate and say, is this beneficial to me? No, let it go. Let go of 5 hours of television every night. Let go of people who bring you down. There's even a book out there. What is it called? Is it called Toxic Relationships? I can't remember the name of it. Look in the comments below. I'll find the copy of the book and link to it. Something like toxic or nasty people or nasty relationships or something. It just talks about toxic people in your life. It's a fascinating book to read. Because there are relationships in your life you may need to end. And don't be afraid of that. Don't be afraid of that. Let go of paradigms that are popular and pleasing, but based on illusion. We talk about that on this channel a lot. Looking at those paradigms, those things around us, we talk about those types of paradigms, and let go of the paradigms that are popular. because they're based on illusion. We want to let go of those types of things. Let go of the things that are not first things. Those quadrant 4 time wasters, they're not important, they're not urgent. They're meaningless in your life. Drop some of those. Drop some of those. Let go of rationalizing. Of course, they called rationalizing, okay? Rationalizing basically means that you know in your heart something is wrong and you're looking for a logical reason to justify stupidity. We need to stop doing that. Let go of unnecessary guilt, all right? There's unnecessary guilt in the world. We all make mistakes. We all do things that are not right. Let go. Just let it go. Then chalk it up. Okay. Now, obviously, if you do something like that, you need to apologize. When you need to apologize, you need to make right the things you need to make right. But once you've apologized, once you've made right, stop holding on to it. Stop holding on to it. It's like a dog who returns to its vomit. You don't want to do that. Let go of extrinsic sources of security. So any form of security that is really not a real form of security, any security that is out there, let go of that kind of stuff. Then, of course, the final point they leave us with in this chapter is just this final section on we must become the change we seek in this world. And that is where I started the channel Switch to Linux. I wanted to move over to Linux after years of being a Windows computer user. I wanted to switch to Linux because I saw what Microsoft started to do with data collection, and I said, no, I'm not going to roll over. I wanted there to be change in the world. I want there to be change in regards to privacy. I would like to see better, stronger privacy laws. I'd like the ability to tell a company in writing, you may not have any data on me because I don't do business with you, and it should be a mandated law to remove all that kind of stuff. Become that type of change. What do I do in that result? Well, when I go to get a haircut, I don't tell them my name and my phone number because they don't need to know my name and my phone number. They're cutting my hair. Okay? We need to take those logical steps. Become that change you want in the world. I want security and privacy. I want more privacy. And I understand, if everybody had infinitely more privacy, security does go down a little bit. I'm cognizant of that, okay? But I think that the privacy is important enough for that I want to be that type of change. I made actual changes in my life to be more cognizant of security and privacy. That's what I'm doing. And this book, First Things First, is just a great little read. Is it perfect? No. I think the biggest downside of the book is, like, one person left a comment very similar to this. So tip of the hat to you, sir, or ma'am. I forget who wrote the comment. It was a while ago, so I'm not even going to attempt to quote it. But paraphrasing, he said something to the effect of, we get a lot of these books that promise perfect and wonderful change, and if you do the things, and in reality, you still have bosses that are bad, and the tips they have on those aren't necessarily going to solve some things. So there's not perfection. Even if we look at this chart, which was in this chapter here, what you're seeing is there's the first generation, and second generation, third generation. This book is about a fourth generation, and they're talking about each of these prior 3 generations have a variety of weaknesses, and they identify what strengths are retained from in this concept in the 4th generation, which weaknesses are eliminated, and they kind of make it out that this book gives you an absolute perfect time management plan, and it doesn't. There is no perfect time management plan because life is messy. Life is not a very simple thing. So why did we spend however many chapters this was, number of weeks, talking about a book? Well, because it is still useful stuff to know. Just because it's not perfect doesn't mean there's 15 of these. Doesn't mean it's not perfect. I mean, it's not. There is no perfect time management plan. There's always going to be problems. There's always going to be challenges. No plan is perfect. But in respect of all of that, start being conscious of the things in your life and make changes looking for that real peace. Thanks for watching. Hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.